So our textbook states that psychopathology is the study of the nature, development, and treatment of psychological disorders. When I looked up mental illness in the Bible, I came across a website called the Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, and it talked about the mental illness that's in the Bible. Mental illness is actually never stated in the Bible, but there are several instances that can be applied to what we know now about how the mind works and how the illnesses work. That can be applied to biblical principle. The Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission states that the mental illness can be a physical or spiritual issue. You have those feelings of despair, anger, loneliness, and depression, and they can be spiritual warfare, but they can also be physical and affect your body, the way you process food, the way your body does or doesn't sleep, how it recovers. It can lead to migraines and other health issues, heart problems, breathing issues. All can come from extreme despair and depression and all those other physical and mental aspects that come with those mental illnesses. So from a Christian viewpoint, I'm taken back to the story in the Bible, Mark 9:14, and I'm going to read it so that I don't just paraphrase. I want it exactly how it's written in the Word of God. So it says, when they came to the other disciples, they saw a large crowd around them and the teachers of the law arguing with them. As soon as all the people saw Jesus, they were overwhelmed with wonder and ran to greet them. "What are you arguing with them about?" he asked. And a man in the crowd answered, "Teacher, I brought you my son who is possessed by a spirit that has robbed him of his speech. Whenever it seizes him, it throws him to the ground. He foams at the mouth, gnashes his teeth, and becomes rigid. And I asked your disciples to drive out the spirit, but they could not." "You unbelieving generation," Jesus replied, "how long shall I stay with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring the boy to me." So they brought him, and when the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground, rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," he answered. "It has often thrown him into fire or water to kill him, but if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." "If you can," said Jesus, "everything is possible for the one who believes." Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." And when Jesus saw that a crowd was running the scene, he rebuked the impure spirit. "You deaf and mute spirit, I command you, come out of him and never enter again." The spirit shrieked, convulsed him violently, and came out, and the boy looked so much like a corpse that many said, "He's dead." But Jesus took him by the hand and lifted him to his feet and stood up. After Jesus had gone indoors, his disciples asked him privately, "Why couldn't we drive it out?" And he replied, "This kind can only come out by prayer." And I think it's so important to look at that Bible verse, that Bible passage, to think about how, one, it talks about how he's a child and it's been with him since childhood. And a lot of these mental illnesses are developed through traumatic experiences. You know, the secular worldview comes with the brain development and the way that, you know, either things did or didn't form, or childhood trauma caused synapses that didn't happen. You know, this connection didn't happen to this connection, which caused this problem. And I really kind of think that it can be a combination of both. I'm a big believer that whenever you have childhood traumatic experiences and your body goes into that fight, flight, or freeze, and those synapses don't happen, I believe that that's when the devil plants that seed. And every time you go through a different type of traumatic experience, the devil continues to plant those seeds until he's able to sew everything together and create that illness, however severe that it could be. You know, depending on the level of traumatic experiences or the way that the devil went in and applied those seeds based on the things that have happened in your life, he could easily tie it together for depression, severe anxiety. You could get into the bigger mental illnesses of, you know, bipolar or schizophrenia. It all comes from just the devil hitting your neurological pathways. I think that God created science, and the science behind, you know, psychopathology in a secular view is the same science behind psychopathology in a Christian worldview. And I think it's important to understand that they can work together. God created everything, including how the brain works. So I think it's really interesting, and this is one of my favorite areas to explore, and I'm really excited to see how the rest of the semester goes.